actually a patch on what I've learned during I'm trying to follow this tutorial to create a game in Unity. And during this tutorial there are some things that I need to change to make it work as what I expected. uh, Overall, I currently only have been following the first tutorial. Overall it's good, it's pretty good. I learned a lot here. But there are just something that when I follow it, it doesn't really work as what I want. So this video is more like a patch. So for the whole tutorial, please go to the penguin design tutorial and follow him. While if you met the same problem what I met, uh, watch my stuff here. And so first of all, it's about the problem that I face. Basically, the problem what I face is when I'm follow the tutorial and when I try to play it just as it is, somehow it doesn't behave as what I would it to be. For example, when we press, so this is basically creating the first tutorial is basically creating a cube, where the cube, when you press the arrow button, it will move and jump like that. Okay, so somehow when I was following what is in the video, it's not jumping. Sometimes it's jump, sometimes it's not, so it's inconsistent. So I was spending a long time actually to actually find out how to make it behave like what I think it should. Basically what I think should is when we press the arrow button, it will move to that area, and also it will jump. It will do the jump animations. So let's go right into it on what is actually, maybe before we go to the code changes that I made, I'll share about what is the high level descriptions about the problem that I I found to be causing that things. So the main problem was actually because we use the animations, right? So once again, if you want to understand this video, you actually follow that tutorial that Penguin Design made. And then if you face the problem that I make, then you go here, because this video will be built up on top of what Penguin Design has built. So the problem was, what I found was because the jumping behavior is actually created via an animation. Okay, so this is the jump state, this is the idle state, this is the jump animation, jump clip, this is the idle clip. And the problem was actually because the idle clip um, the idle clip is too long. So when I was following the video, the idle clip is set to be 90 keyframes. And then what happened is, let's try to take this out. What happened is, if we play this game, okay, you'll see that there is a range, there is a time being used here to be in the idle state. So when the idle state is too long compared to the length of keyframes required in order to move, the idle state is still working, while the state to go to jump is already turning from true back to false again. Because it's already turning from true back to false again, when the idle is coming to an end, it doesn't move to the jump state. That's the reason. So the key problem was because of the keyframes. It's just too long. So the solution that I'm making was as simple as cutting it down, cutting the idle animation keyframe down. And how I did it is pretty simple. So first of all, I click the player object where the animator animations is being installed, the animation controller. And then when we go to the animation tabs, we'll see, go to the idle, and then what we need to do is change this one. We click the record button and then we move it. So if you notice, I move it into 10, 20. So in total, this is just 20 keyframes. While in the video, it is using 90 keyframes. And I found that using the 20 keyframes is actually working pretty well. That every one movement, it do one jump consistently. So that's actually the key problem. And another thing, another adjustment I made is actually in the timing. So I make it totally zero transitions. So it's directly when it transit from idle to jump, it directly goes to jump. If you notice, I make the duration into zero here, right? There is no blocks here saying idle. Same with the jump. I make it a total direct jump from jump to idle. And by making these two changes, I found it works pretty well. Actually, there is one more thing, one more change is required, which is on the coding part. On the animation controller, nothing changed, actually nothing needed. I add this one just because I was debugging on what is possibility, but you don't really need this one. What is actually needed was the fact that first of all, I need to initiate the endpost values with the game object positions, which in this case the bounce script is actually attached to the parent player. And another one to be made is actually this part. So instead of using the conditions of rounding of the percentage, what I'm doing as a condition when the jump to be returned back to false is to detect when the jump is still in a true state and the end position is equal to the game object position. Because at this stage, when end position is equal to the game object position, it means there is no button being clicked. No key down being pressed, right? Because only end position will only change into it will only be different with the game object position if we press the button or when it is still in the process of moving to that part, which is the alert. Otherwise, we will have it just right. Another thing that I made also that the start pause here, this is only initiated once when it is starting to move. Okay, so it is not keeping updated all the time. So those are the changes that I made. Okay, and that would solve the problem. So to summarize, first is about the keyframes. I make the idle to be faster. Second is to make the transition into zero for both idle to jump and jump to idle. Third is to make the termination criteria for the just jump. The condition when we move the just jump state back to false is actually to I change it into this, which is checking whether just jump is true and whether and position is in the game position. So that's about it. Hopefully you can get the behavior desired out of this changes. Okay, thank you so much for watching.